Yeah. Any questions at
Do I
all?
have any? Not until you start, I don't think.
Okay.
I think I'll listen and pick up and ask questions as they occur to me.
Well, do ask. Please do ask. You know, the thing with these webinars is that when you have everybody texting the questions in, then from my point of view, it all gets a bit sort of boring, quite frankly. And when I run seminars, people need to be able to ask questions when it occurs to them rather than having a sort of QA at the end. So whether I'm doing 1 hour or 2 hours or whatever, it's questions on the hoof, and they can ask what they like, and if I don't know the answer, say there and then, don't know. But at least they haven't got to keep writing stuff down and trying to remember to ask something in the last 5 minutes of the session. Anyway, we are being joined shortly by my partner Jay Collett, and until she gets all switched on and so forth, I can't move forward, which should be only be a couple of minutes. Then we can open up and find out who you guys are and what particularly interests you. So we are filling up rapidly. Yeah, on the other day, where was it? Wednesday, we had terrible audio problems. We've now got a piece of kit which turns the power lines through the house, the 30-amp power circuits through the house, into a hardwired internet supply to the computer. So we're no longer flying wirelessly, which we have been doing. We're now flying wired in, and presumably getting the maximum speed out of it. And so far, I'd recommend it. I mean, it was £40 worth of kit, and all you do is plug the kit into your normal 13-amp power points, one at the computer, one at the router, and you're away. Simple as that. So we're now hardwired, which should hopefully get rid of the problems that we had on Wednesday. Right, still waiting for Jane to join, and then we can get fired off. Just to repeat again, we're to the guys who've recently joined or joined the last minute or so, we are in a Q&A session waiting for Jane, my partner Jane Collett, to join. I always start off with Q&As because I'd rather have people sitting there waiting for the main event, so to speak, even in particular exhibition halls and so on. Start off with Q&As, and then we get into the main event when we've got people in room, because everybody seems to leave at the last minute. They pile in at with a minute to go or 2 minutes to go, and it's also very distracting for other people who'll be sitting there to have people say, can I move past you? Can I get past you in the line of chairs? Can I do this? Can I do that? And particularly when somebody's asked a question, they're trying to concentrate on what the answer is, to have somebody trying to get past them and obscure me and obscure what's going on. So as I say, until the rush is over to get in at the last second, I've always done Q&As, which seems to work. Anyway, so we're still rushing in, unfortunately. See what's going on. Rushing. So anybody who wants to ask a question at this stage, please do. You're all on open mics. Please be aware of that, because if you have a lot of background noise, we can hear you. So, if you scratch your head or scratch anything else, or kids rush in, or TV's on, or whatever, at my end, your mic is open. You can switch your mic off at your end, no problem. But at the moment, as I said, it's all open mic'd, and if you're not switched off, then we can hear you. So if you want to do something that makes a noise, you're going to have an audience. It was quite amusing once, some years ago. I had to take a comfort break in the middle of a seminar I was running. In fact, I won't go into detail of it, but I was working from a wheelchair for one reason or another, and I got duly wheeled out and duly wheeled back, and yes, you've guessed it, the room was tittering when I got back in and said, you know, what's all the fun about? And somebody said, Peter, who was the guy who was wheeling me around, didn't tell you what your mic off. So I had about 60 people in the room who'd been avidly listening to me in a comfort break. Anyway, such is life. Right. Okay, it's 6:38, and I'm getting feedback from whoever's just recently joined us, I think. Anyway, it's 6:38. So let's get started on this seminar on unmodernized hot lots. I'm David Humphreys. I'm the presenter. Somewhere in here is Jane Collett, who is managing everything. And you have had emails from Jane. Just to repeat, you are all on open mics. I can switch you off, but I haven't yet. If it all gets a bit out of hand, I will do. So in the meantime, whilst you're on open mics, you can say what you want when you want to say it. Just be conscious that other people are listening, and that you know, interesting language will not. You'll get switched off for interesting language and anything else that's interesting. What else do I say? Yes, I always say this at the beginning of everything. I'm not very politically correct, and so you may find something I say is offensive. If you do, I apologize. There's a reason for sometimes being potentially offensive, is that you'll remember it. Particularly if I'm using an anecdote, you're more likely to remember a slightly offensive or slightly risque or blue or whatever anecdote than you will if I put it into 10 words. If I put it into 2, there is one in this seminar, there may be more, but there's certainly one that's planned. As I say, I apologize if you find anything I say in advance, anything I say offensive. Okay. Right, before we start, we're still back with very few of you guys have switched microphones on. Anybody want to say anything at all or ask any questions before we get into it? No? No? Okay. Don't feel shy. And nobody can see you, by the way. They can hear you, but they can't see you. Okay. You can also ask questions via the text route, which again can't be seen by anybody else, and if I miss it, which I may do, then Jane picks it up and punts it through to me. All right, so let's look at this screen, which I hope you can all see. I'm assuming that you can all see and hear me, by the way. We haven't done a test across that yet at all, but anybody who can't see me, so can't see the screen, not me, you can't see me at all, other than I'm down here in the bottom right-hand corner in a quiet little white shirt. If you can't hear me, either way, text in, please, because we've no way of testing that. We also no way of testing the speed at which you hear us. So if, no, Jane, I can't make a presenter, there's only one. You come in as a guest. So if we do get breakdown for any reason, then hang on. No. Hang on a second. No. Then it could be your speed rather than my speed. I say we're running at 100 some whatevers, which is the maximum we can do with this new system that we're working with, which is the plugged-in system. Okay, Essential Information Group is one of the sponsors tonight, and there's be a special offer from them at the end of the evening. In fact, I might even do that right at the beginning and at the end. Essentially, most of the information that you're going to see tonight comes from the Essential Information Group website. It's a membership site, and therefore you can't just see what I'm going to show you. You sort of can. You can find it on Zoopla and Rightmove, but some of it you can't find outside of Essential. They're one of the sponsors. The other sponsor is effectively us, the Property Auction Expert Masterclass, and there are details on 2 websites, which I'll come to later about that. We are running a masterclass starting on the 30th of January. It's an unusual masterclass in that we run it alongside a live auction, and the auction is Bigwoods in Birmingham. You don't spend time, it isn't all day every day at Bigwoods. We go there for 3 days, and it's 55 hours over the 4-week period from release of catalogue day through to auction day. And so you join the auction effectively, and you will go out and you will view properties with other people who have nothing to do with the course at all. There's 2 days of viewings, and this is done when the auctioneers set the schedule. We decide what we want to go and see, but they set the schedule, and you then attend the auction along with, in Bigwood's case, between 400 and 500 other people, and you're bidding against the public, and you can buy in the auction. In fact, we will have somebody in the group, one of the people in the group is going to be buying, or attempting to buy anyway, a property that is coming through this auction. And so we will be assisting that person in real life to try and beat all the opposition. So and win the day, because auction is a bit like a heavyweight fight. In fact, when I'm bidding, I'm thinking to myself, I'm beating 7 bells out of the other guy or the other guys. And when I'm left with one person that I'm bidding against, I raise the rate of the bells. So having gone from a slow ring, I go to a very rapid ring and try and beat them into submission. So Essential Information Group is essential if you are going to get into auctions for serious, for real. If you're going to do this for real, they cost about £400 a year, and it's essential that you join them. And as I say, pretty well essential you do a masterclass if you're going to do this for real. There's an awful lot in auctions, even today, which you can't find out unless you know about it. I mean, inside Bigwoods, as an example, we'll try and look at it tonight, if we get through in time. You can find yourself paying all the vendors' costs that they're going to be incurring in putting their property into auction. This is the seller I'm talking about, not the buyer. Okay, vendors' costs, you might think it's a few £100. Well, the other day I found one on I think it was a £40,000 property, which ran to £8,000. So having bid your £30,000, you find that there's £8,000 on top of, plus your own costs, to pay for the privilege of buying this person's house or flat or whatever, this property. And stuff like that, which you really do need to know about big time before you sit down and get sort of swept along in the entertainment. It's not Homes Under the Hammer, but it's both amusing and you can be raised for long. Anyway, so why buy Un-Modernised properties at auction, and we'll come to what a hot lot is somewhat later. This is both a training or semi-training workshop seminar, and also action where we will be looking at auctions that are coming up in the next 10 to 15 days, which I think have got hot lots inside them. But we're starting off looking at whys. Okay. So here we go. First, why buy un-modernised auction properties? First off is that auctions are a reliable source of property for two strategies. NMLI, which you may or may not be familiar with, which means no money left in, and tax-free rent. No money left in means that you can continue to operate the strategy without being reliant, in this case, on market-driven gain, which was the way you did it yesterday. Before the credit crunch, it was all market-driven gain, probably went up by 10, 15, 20% a month in some cases, and certainly a year, and therefore you were able to quickly see the property rise away from the value that gave you an 80% mortgage to the point where you could remortgage to get your money out. But you've got to make this gain yourself now, and so the fixed up value at the end of the day it needs to be greater than the buy and fixed costs, and then remortgaging releases the equity, which allows you to go back and buy again. And all the properties, as you can see in the background, are all properties which have come through the auctions. Tax-free rent is relatively simple, and it works regardless of the recent tax changes that the government in their wisdom have introduced. Fix-up costs. The cost of fixing one of these properties up can be split between repairs and improvements. The repair costs can be deducted from the rent before you pay tax. Now, whether you are paying the repair for a leaking roof, let's say, you know, a slate goes missing off one of these roofs, take the one up at the top left-hand corner, a slate goes missing here, and you send somebody up on scaffolding, probably today, not a ladder, to health and safety would allow you to use a ladder, to fix the slate back, and you're going to get a bill for, depending on where you are, for a couple of £100 maybe. The scaffold is expensive. The cost of fixing that roof is allowable for tax purposes, so you can take the cost of the £200 off from the rental income before you start assessing for tax. Likewise, if you bought this property and it qualified, and I'll come to the qualification shortly, if you took the whole of the roof off because it was shot and you re-roofed front and back, it's still a repair, even though you have technically improved the property. So you can't split between one slate, 10 slates, and a few hundred or a few thousand slates. It's all repair, always, provided the property, as I say, qualifies. And the high-ticket items invariably are repairs. So the repair costs down here at the bottom, the repair cost can be deducted from the rent before tax. So if you've got an MLI, you've pulled all your money out because you've improved the value of the property, and you pull all your money out, leaving you with positive cash flow. You haven't gone negative, it's positive cash flow. Then that positive cash flow, which ordinarily will be subject to tax, becomes tax-free because you've got to absorb or set off all the repair costs. And you're talking maybe about £20,000 of repair costs on out of a £30,000 job, or £25,000 to £30,000 job. The roof is a very good example because you can see the roof, and I can talk about a roof and everybody can see it. If I talk about something inside the property, you've got to imagine it. But that roof, 1 slate, 10 slates, 100 slates, 1,000 slates, the extension, etc., is always, always, always a repair, provided that the property qualifies. And I'll come to the qualification in a minute, or in less probably than a minute. So all need fix up. And going through the auction rooms, there are some 2,000 properties a month that are being sold under the hammer. And in the majority of cases, the majority being 90–95% of the time, they need fix up. And remortgage equals more cash to reinvest, and fix up repairs equals tax-free rent. And this is why I buy at auction. And also I could go and see 10, 15, 20 properties in a day, or certainly over a couple of days, as you will find out in the masterclass. We do about 25 properties over 2 viewing days. What happens in the masterclass is that we meet on the first Saturday of the 4-week period, and we all agree what we want to go and look at. And this is over a 2-day period that fits in with the auctioneer's 2 days. We all pile into an executive coach, and we're driven round. I'll come back to that as well, and go in and go out in the 15 minutes allowed. So let's move on. Now, unmodernized search criteria, I'll go through this briefly, but this map here, which is lifted from Essential Information Group, all the maps in this presentation come from this website. And although Rightmove and Zoopla, as 2 examples, which I also use, you can produce these placeholder maps. You can't produce them for the auction criteria that applies inside Essential. So unmodernized, they've all got guides sub £100,000. The reason for that is that it's a figure which brings any and everybody in, and I'll show you in a minute where you could buy sub £100,000 property on the basis of a guide price. They've all got locations which you can work in. In towns it'll be relatively small, maybe 5 miles. In the country you could go up maybe 20 miles. In these properties, all these properties by the way, there is no residential or commercial mix. It is solely residential. Reason for that is lenders don't like it, and it isn't the first choice for buyers. If you're flipping a residential property, they don't want to be living above the pub, or living above the fish and chip shop, or one of those horrible places that sells, what's it called, Babs or something like that. Bab, I think it's called Babs. They're so smelly. Anyway, you see, they don't live ways. Likewise, they don't live above Waitrose, by the way. Waitrose, obviously isn't smelly. Well, it isn't smelly, but they don't live above Waitrose either. Not adjacent to commercial premises. You don't want to be looking out of the back window or a side window at a factory or a garage or whatever. It could be a nuisance. Case of ELA, ex-local authority properties, mostly built in concrete, no high-rise, nothing higher than 5 floors. The private individual can get a mortgage on them, but in most cases, an investor can't mortgage a high-rise ELA. No derelict. If you're fixing up derelict properties, the whole fix-up cost is capital, no revenue element. So if it doesn't pass the test, which we're coming to in a minute or 30 seconds, if it doesn't pass the test, don't buy for my purposes. By all means, go out and buy. If you've got a buy, flip strategy, and you're not looking to let it at all, then it makes sense to fix it up. But you can't get the tax break by fixing up derelict. No busy roads. Who wants to live above a busy road or on a busy road junction with heavy traffic all day and all night? The other factor is that the busy roads are filthy. You open the window and you've got grime everywhere. I've lived in London, as most of us have, or a lot of us have at one point or another. And living on Wandsworth Road or Battersea Road or Cromwell Road is no joke. It's filthy, absolutely filthy. You've got to keep the windows closed and everything else closed pretty well. No WO lines. I want to be able to park outside my property and unload the groceries and so forth. So this isn't first choice. There are no traffic calming measures. Sleeping policemen. These are just an invitation to people on motorbikes to try and behave like Evel Knievel and do fantastic jumps. And now we come to the 2 C's test. The 2 C's are for cooking and crapping. If you can cook, to cook you have to have power in the property, because you can't cook without power. So you've got to be connected to electricity and or gas. Crapping is you've got to go to the loo. To go to the loo you must be on the drains and you must have water. Well, generally people want water. The 2Cs test is also relevant to mortgageability. If it won't pass the 2Cs, you can't mortgage it with a normal residential mortgage. Sub-criteria, this is what I'm also looking for, but it's a bit more difficult. I don't want ground floor flats. People think they're going to get pillaged, raped and pillaged in ground floor flats, and therefore they want to be above the ground floor. Very difficult to let ground floor flats to elderly people, and some of the ethnic groups, Chinese particularly, are very, very nervous about, in my experience, about living on the ground floor. No lift. If I'm going to buy above the second floor, has to have a lift. Who wants to climb 3, 4, 5 floors? I don't. If I don't want to do it, why should anybody else want to do it? Basically speaking, if I'm going to buy a flat, ideally it needs to be on the first floor, possibly second, no higher than that unless there's a lift, and more than one. Ideally southwest facing gardens and the rear of the property if it's flat, if it's a flat, because they're more attractive. The sun cheers us up, you know, nice sunny day, sun pouring in through the windows. You feel better rather than something facing east or north, dreary. And you know, I want every chance of flipping these things out, whether it's to let or to sell, very quickly, instantly. Ideally on mains gas, although I'm going to have to change this because I understand that gas is not being put into buildings today, but electricity has got faster than has been the case in the past. So that's my sub-criteria. This is what I'm looking for. And basically when I go to an auction, it's got to meet this stuff. I've got to tick all these boxes pretty well. If I can't tick the box, I'll walk away. Nobody is holding a gun at my head or my back or wherever saying you have got to buy and you have got to buy today. Nobody. So it's my choice. And given that it's my choice, even though I'm being sort of extolled or exhorted by the lenders to go and buy somebody else possibly to go and buy, I don't have to buy. My life doesn't depend on it. So the boxes have all got to be ticked, or I walk. I walk. Okay, to move on. Now, 3 maps out of Essential. And by the way, I bring these maps up because this is one of the first checks I do. I get onto Essential and look for what I'm looking for and chuck this map up, one of these maps up, which has got the properties on, and just see what the spread is and where it is. So if I'm buying something, Plymouth, what do you buy around Plymouth as an example? So what's coming up in the Plymouth area? I can see so quickly. You know, they say a picture is worth 10,000 words. In this case, it is. You can see so quickly using these maps that you can produce out of Essential. So here we have Un-Modernised sub 100,000 coming up for auction in the next 2 weeks, there or thereabouts. And there are meeting the criteria. Altogether, there's over 800, by the way. But meeting my criteria, there's 150 properties in 40 auctions coming up over the next 2 weeks. And as you can see, they're spread all over the country. All these properties are modernised, all have sub 100 guide prices, and all have other things going for them as well. They include probably all of this 60 here. No, yes, they should probably include. They may include. If they are assured hotels, if they're let, if they're no, they won't be unmodernised and let or unlikely. Sorry, scrap that, change that one around. If they are let to existing tenants, otherwise you've got people living in them, then all 60 of these properties are coming through the auction in the next 2 weeks. So if you want instant income, if you want to go buy a property in the Plymouth area and 28 days later, you've got income, positive cash flow coming into your bank account. There's one sitting in Plymouth. I can't click on this and open it up because it's a picture. I can show you later in the seminar a live version of this, yeah, that's right, live, active. So this gives you an idea of where the properties are let and being sold. I say Un-Modernised because these are not going to be in the best of condition. They probably do need modernising, but modernised may not have been mentioned in the search criteria. But the majority of these will need modernising. Landlords do not sell pristine properties. They sell stuff that's a bit run down, and they may sell because they can't be bothered to fix it up and give their tenant a decent housing. So you've got a little group. Let's go across here. Southampton, little bitty group. Then you've got the South Coast, around the London. Of course, what's killing London here is the sub 100k barrier. These are all come under in the sub 100k category. This is one of the criteria. So because I'm not prepared to increase that for this search, that's why London doesn't have a lot, and why the South doesn't have a lot for that matter. Then you've got South Wales, and just across from Bristol, places like that. And then we go north. Not a lot in Birmingham. Again, the sub 100 kills it, makes it difficult. I'll show you numbers later on in this seminar. Then we go north again and into Liverpool, Manchester area where we are heavy. We're heavy. Okay, sorry, come back. Boom, boom. Right. Coming across to the other side, repossessions, and everybody's after repos. In the next 2 weeks, there are 27 properties coming up in 3 different auctions. Again, London is left out. Remember the 100k criteria that I'm looking at. These are all sub 100k criteria. Okay, so as you go north, a lot. Then there's a lot in the Liverpool-Manchester area, or the bulk of them. And then south of the Bristol to the Wash line, there's a few spotted about, and then into East London, Southampton. But the reason why I'm not showing anything south of the belly of England is because of the 100k as one of my search criteria. Okay, so that looks at the Un-Modernised 150 properties. These are all available in the next couple of weeks. 60 coming through, ready, tenanted, ready to provide you with an income. Mostly in poor order and needing work, which will increase the value. And then the repos. Okay, to move on. So when we search for hot lots, we apply extra criteria or different criteria to a hot lot. What makes a hot lot? What makes a hot lot? And here's again a map of England with what I think, this is my personal feeling about hot lots. You may feel differently. There's no reason why you shouldn't feel differently, other than of course you're wrong. If you feel different to me, you're wrong. It's quite a simple rule. Anyway, search criteria for me, I'm looking at off location. Now, the bulk of these properties are being sold in London. In the big auctions in London, they're coming through. What you don't find is Cambridge selling a hot lot for these reasons. So the bulk of these are coming through the London houses, even though they're out of London, because it's called off location. And the moment the property is between it's 50, but certainly 1 to 500 miles, and up here in Newcastle is about 400 miles from London, it becomes off location. And the question is, will Newcastle, for a £50,000 or £30,000 property, will Newcastle travel to London, to Holborn, to or Kensington High Street to buy Marcus's auction, to buy a property? Will they make the journey to London? And it's all very well saying, oh yes, but they can buy online, they can buy on the telephone, etc. Believe me, auctions are a scary game. And if they won't go to them, will they buy on the telephone? I don't know. They didn't used to anyway. But the, the, the number of buyers reduces. They're unmodernized. That means they need work. So the guy's living in Newcastle, he's trying to buy a property that needs fixing up. Ideally, they should be in the first or last 5 to 7 lots, or 10% of the catalogue. First, the reason for first is that the room hasn't warmed up. People haven't, they're nervous about putting their hands up. The auctioneers have to sort of cajole the first 2 or 3 buyers into bidding and buying. A friend of mine is a trader who buys and sells through the auctions, and he doesn't want his properties listed out inside the first 15. And he asked the auctioneer to please list him later on in the auction. But he doesn't want to be at the end because they've all gone home. All you're left with at the end is the traders. And if you were Bigwoods as an example, I mean, you can start that auction with 500 people in the room or 300 people in the room. By the time you get to lot 15, it's gone to 500 people in the room. It's 120, 130 lot catalogue. As you pass the 60 mark or 50%, it starts to go, you start to lose people. And by the time you go past 75%, you might have 25 people in the room. It's amazing, amazing. Repossessions, fantastic. Has to be sold, no messing about with price. Probate, fantastic. Has to be sold. And the people that are getting the money, the people that who are the beneficiaries of the will, have already spent it. If they haven't spent it, they certainly know what they're going to do with it. They knew granny, grandpa, whoever was going to die, and that chunk of money which they've known about for years, finally they're going to get their hands on it. And so that they are motivated sellers, as are people who've gone through the auctions already and not managed to sell for one reason or another. So either the property is unsold or withdrawn for a problem. Maybe there's a legal issue or something. But these people are desperate to sell, unsold and withdrawn. Desperate to sell, highly motivated sellers need to sell it yesterday. This is a hot lot. If you can find somebody that will bite your hand off if you'll sell it, if you're buying their property off them, then you should be able to drive a deal. Part fixed up. You'll see a lot of properties where somebody's bought an un-modernized property and they just didn't realize what they were buying into. They didn't realize that they got this and that to do, and they had to comply with building regulations. Yeah, I went into a house yesterday. I'm 6'5", 6'6", 6'5". I used to be 6'6". I've shrunk. I went into a house yesterday, and this girl, charming girl, showing the house, and she said, "Do you want to go upstairs?" I said, "No, thank you." I looked up the stairs. I said, "No, I don't want to go upstairs." Oh, well, she said, "Oh, fine." What was wrong with me? So I went downstairs and managed to get back up to the ground floor because it was 3 floors. And as I looked up the staircase, there was the ceiling was coming out over the staircase, and this is how it was being built. And I said to her, if I go up those stairs, I can't get down. I can't get down forwards. I have to turn around, bounce down on my bum, or I have to crawl down because I can't go forwards under that flooring that's jutting out over the stairs. She said, "What are you talking about?" So I went up the stairs, and I stood at on the step by where the flooring jutted out over the staircase. And I think the jut came to about my waist. And how do I sort of go any further down? I can't bend double forwards. None of us can. I can't bend double forwards and go down under something coming down the staircase. Well, I can't anyway. Contortionists may be able to do it, but I certainly can't. So my only way was to turn around and come down like a baby, bouncing step after step after step, or sitting facing forwards, I could bounce down on my bum, again like babies do. So I had to go back to babyhood to work out how to come down the stairs. Now babies can do it. And sure, it could be done, but no thank you. I didn't want to be doing that every day of the week. Or I'm going to change the staircase out of the middle of the house. It was an east-west staircase, not north-south, which is even more expensive. So part fixed, people get into the trouble. I mean, somebody will buy this property I talked about, we saw yesterday, and they just won't think this thing through because it never occurred to them. Hadn't occurred to the girl. She'd never come across a situation where the customer couldn't get down. So the staircase was also very, very narrow. So now we'll be talking about they're too tall to get down the staircase, and they may be too wide to get down the tube of the staircase. Anyway, I'll leave that one alone. But as I say, part fixed. A lot of properties end up in the auctions where the buyer has bought something to fix up, and it's all gone gone pear-shaped. A low rent. No rent should be less than the local housing allowance. It's not necessary because you could always let it to people who are eligible for LHA, and they should give it to you. And if it's decent housing, you should get a proper rent. So if it's lower, then there's a possibility it's a hot lot. Low EPC. I don't know whether you guys looked at the EPCs, but anything below 55, EPCs have a number, a letter and a number, alphanumeric or whatever it's called, alphanumeric. Everybody talks about the number, but nobody talks about, sorry, everybody talks about the letter, but nobody talks about the number, yet the number has a range inside it. And I'm looking for properties which have a number below 55, because the lower it is, the more work they need. And broadly speaking, if you're buying a modernised, more work equals more profit. Why? Because you'll pay £50,000 for something that you can fix up over the weekend, and the fix-up costs will be maybe £10,000, maybe 15. But going to something that is £25,000 spending on it, and you'll drop the starting price by maybe £5,000 to £10,000. And the lower 55s give you an indication of that. Then becomes the legal pack, which invariably you can't see until 24, 48 hours before the auction. Title issues. I want problems down here. I want problems that will keep amateurs away, frighten them, so they don't want my property. Leave it to me. It's falling over, structural. It's got mining problems, flooding problems, wall ties. Wall ties are the links between the inside and outside cavity wall. You get a lot of them up in the northeast off the North Sea. A lot of properties up there have got what's called wall tie corrosion. And anything that's antisocial. Anything that people just don't want to get involved in. Drugs, fantastic. Smelly houses, fantastic. So anyway, they all contribute towards what a hot lot is. So to move on. By the way, please ask questions. Nobody's rattled my cage yet. I'm not going to be stopping for questions, by the way. So if you've got anything I rushed through and you want more clarification on it, ring the bell. Ring the bell. Okay, to move on. Before you start, decide on your strategy and think of a 20-to-1 rule. You will be viewing 20 houses, and these are houses that you've pre-qualified, by the way, not just the first 20 out of the auction catalogue. You'll be viewing 20 houses, assessing 10, that means number crunching 10, to bid on 5, and maybe buy 1. I say maybe because that depends on whether you don't get an idiot in the room who's prepared to pay anything for the property because they want to house their granny or their aunt or their friend or whatever. But if they're buying sensibly, bidding after sensible due diligence, that's about the way it runs. 20, 10, 5 and 1. Strategy, buy to fix, or if you're buying and fixing to flip or let, or you could be letting and flipping later. But the main driver is always cash. Where can you afford to buy? What can you afford to fix? £100,000 will get you a long way, 50 miles from London. It'll get you even further, 100 miles from London. You won't even cross the street in London, as an example. So you've got to set the criteria that you want to be working in, and you need to keep the criteria, maintain it, develop a strategy which you can repeat every day of the week, that is based on property that you can buy every day of the week. So you're looking for a high volume of properties in a location where there is volume. Hence we come to property type and location. I like terraced houses. They're all over the place, all across the country. 27% of the housing stock in the UK is terraced housing. Location, I want a good active auction culture going on. So don't talk about Oxford. Oxford doesn't have an auction. There are auctioneers in Oxford, sure, but they sell furniture, antiques, silver. They don't sell property. If you're going to buy property by auction in Oxford, invariably the property is sold by their London office. Whereas Cardiff, fantastic. Paul Foshy down in Cardiff is selling up through the valleys every 6 weeks. 100 properties. Condition, the worse the better. As I've said, if you can really bite the bullet and go for some really stinky property which needs terraced house, South Wales, let's say, or Birmingham, that needs £25,000-30,000 per spending on it, you'll make more money than going for something that needs £5,000 spending. And this isn't homes under the hammer or weekend makeovers. It'll take you 8 to 12 weeks to get in and out, and that's assuming you're organised. So you've got to decide whether you wanted to go in the light end or heavy end fix up. I'm here. I'm the Y of heavy. That's assuming that the Y isn't derelict. If the Y is derelict, then I'm at the V of heavy, one short of derelict. Commercial and residential, big market. Again, you've got to decide whether you're going to go into the brown sites and whether you're going to get expertise there. And finally, you've got to decide who your customer is, tenant or buyer. At the end of the day, you'll make more money selling the property, but in the meantime, you may let it. You may have to let it. I bought a property once where, for various reasons, I put it under offer in the March to flip it. This was in London. And we didn't exchange contracts until September, or complete until September. Shunted the builders in. They got in and out very quickly, October, November. Was the market going to carry on rising rapidly back in the early 2000s, rising rapidly through the next following year? I didn't think so. I couldn't see it continuing. So we let it. Property, as far as I know, is still let. I did it for a client. We let it, and the market did carry on, steaming away. So if we'd held over the Christmas slow period, we'd have got out and taken our money out by the end of January. But called it wrong. Cash, before you start again, decide your strategy, and you need to decide on the cash and the sources. Pre-auction, you need cash for, come back to surveys, legal pack checks, possibly, professional advice, and a masterclass. You need to be thinking about seriously if you're going to get into this as a regular thing to do. Don't start doing that without the masterclass. Surveys. Difficulty here is, do you do them or not? And quite correctly, you are urged and advised to have the property surveyed. Almost you're regarded as being insane if you don't, bearing in mind that rubbish comes through auctions. Problem is economics. If I go back to the 10-5 rule, you view 20, well obviously you're not going to get all 20 surveyed. Surveys, I'm going to say, are going to cost you a couple £100, £400 a pop. You're going to assess 10. Are you going to survey all 10? No. But if you're going to bid on 5 of them, and you're in the survey game, in the game of having your potential properties surveyed, you've got to survey all 5. So if we put £250 down as a survey fee, and that would be cheap, let's forget the VAT for the moment, you can spend £1,000 surveying these 5 on the possibility that you may buy one. How long will your funds, how long will your capital last throwing a minimum of £1,000 a time at an auction before you buy anything? How many auctions can you go to? How many grands can you throw away? So my answer is you can't afford to survey, because you can't afford it. There's no point in surveying it when it's bought. It's too late then. So I don't see how people can afford to bring the cost of surveying, and at 250, they're closer to double that, can bring the cost of surveying into their strategy. But the advice is perfectly correct. You should have it surveyed. If you're going after one property, only one property, because you're buying a house in a street for granny to live in, some argument for it. But if you're going to go out and buy over the year, maybe 3, 5, 10 properties and make a strategy out of buying and fixing auction properties, you simply can't afford it. I mean, this recent increase in the stamp duty above £40,000 is bad enough without popping a couple of £1,000 to £2,000 in survey fees every auction, every 6 weeks or more often than that. The auctions come round. Auction day, 10% of the bid is what you'll have to come up with in almost any way but cash. They won't accept cash. It's got to be some other method, generally speaking, besides cash. Plus their premium, which is something under £1,000, generally speaking, and you need to insure the property. You insure it from the hammer dropping. Completion day, 90% of the bid, bridging fees possibly. Vendors costs I mentioned earlier, this is a real nasty, and you could be looking at 3, 5, 8, I think the highest I've seen so far is about £9,000 coming through the Bigwoods auctions. And the auctioneers have it, they can't do anything about it. Well, I don't believe that. Anyway, legal fees, stamp duty. Now, if you're buying a second home, stamp duty starts at 40k, 3% on 40k, and then disbursements. Then you go into the works period, you've got builders payments to make, materials on 30-day accounts, loan interest and credit cards. Sources of money, your cash, and your credit, and you can open up credit cards. All these people, what people don't understand is the moment you start in this game, you become a trader. You become an investor trader. You're no longer a private person. You're in business. So you go and open your account, as Smith Builders, not John Smith, but you're now Smith Builders or Smith whatever. But you're no longer, general public. Bridging loans and equity, and here you can get second charges on property other than what you're buying to jump it up to 100% loans. I've just done an analysis of bridging loans for Jane. She's going to be looking at buying a property using bridging finance. And I was horrified to find the difference between various types of bridging or various bridging brokers. When I say horrified to find the difference, it's like, I'm not going to go, be careful what I say because I don't want to breach any confidentiality, but the amount that some bridging companies are charging is double what somebody else is charging, and they're both reputable. No doubt about the reputability of the lenders, but it's double, and it's of the order of thousands of pounds difference. Thousands, not 1,000, thousands. The more I got into it, the more I couldn't believe it. I had to go back and check my numbers to make certain I hadn't screwed up. Anyway, move on. Credit cards, etc. And finally, private and JV funds, good sources. We work with people where they've got the cash, but they haven't got the knowledge. So, and they're very welcome to come along. We put a deal together, where they get money out of it as well. We get money out. We and they get money, but they can learn and see how it works, how it all fits together, and they're interested in doing it. It takes three to five deals to really get your head around it, where you begin to feel confident in seeing it through to conclusion. Now, this is an interesting slide. Is the main driver's cash. Here is, and this is come again through EIG. Here is the average hammer price. There's 13 regions in the UK. This is the average hammer price in East Anglia, £137,000. Okay, this is 2016 last year. Now, you can halve that price and you can buy. So right the way through all over the country, you can halve the average hammer price and find lots at the 50% level. So in East Anglia, you can buy with a £69,000 hammer price. If you borrowed that 50% at 70%, which is the normal bridging loan to value, it would cost you £21,000 to get into Hammersmith, into East Anglia rather. So here we've got the average hammer price. 50% of the average price is what you can in fact buy at. In the northeast, it's down to 36,000. The minimum bridge is 70%, so it's 11,000 in Northern Ireland. The minimum mortgage deposit is 75%. It is the minimum. You could do it 85%, but it's conservative. I'm being conservative. 27,000, and then each month. This is the most interesting one. Unsold lots. All these red figures are the unsold lots in the region, and they're identified. And here you have the motivated sellers. So take the Northwest, which is very active. Just under 1,000 lots a month are going through, are being offered. 93 lots a month are not sold. 28% are unsold. And you can get into the Northwest for £13,000 cash plus bridging. So if you've got £15,000 cash available to you, you could go north, go to the Northwest, and you can be buying them all day. All day. These numbers change, but not greatly, not greatly, and certainly over a year they don't change. These numbers are 2016. I did it, I think it's September last year. So, as I say, this is what you're looking at, and the cash, the driver. How much cash have you got? Because there is no point, for instance, in looking at London, unless you've got £60,000, sorry, 200,000, no, £60,000, £60,000 plus the cost of fix-up, remember, plus the cost of fix-up. So you probably need 100 grand, 40 grand fix-up, maybe 100 grand fix-up, I don't know. You probably need 160,000 pounds to think about going into London. Whereas if you took the fix-up cost at 30,000, 27,000. The Northwest gets you in the game at 50,000. 13,000 cash and 37,000 fix up. Yeah, 50k. Okay, so that's the cash situation. Now, almost, with the exception of London, almost all over the country, you've got 15 minutes to view the property. That's all of you, and it's you and everybody else who's got 15 minutes. So what we do is that we have an analyzer, which you can buy, by the way. It comes with a masterclass. We supply these analyzers, and you can see these analyzers if you go on to YouTube and search investment property analyzer. You can have a look at how these analyzers work and how easy they are, and they literally work out the amount you can afford to bid. You walk around the property with a hard copy. Hang on, look at the signs. With a hard copy. Please don't take your iPad. They may be lovely things to flash around and say, oh, I've got an iPad. Here, look at me. The trouble is iPads have the ability to fly, and you'll find that they're flying out of the property very quickly, aided by somebody else, the pigeon or whatever. Anyway, don't go in with an iPad. Don't either go in because you're going to drop it. You're going to get elbowed. I'll show you a picture in a minute and show you why. So please go in with a good old-fashioned clipboard and a piece of paper on it, all set up, ready. So all you've got to do is to write or tick these squares. Okay. Don't put your iPads at risk or computers or whatever. Then when you get home or back to the office, you got to tick here, you put a tick there, and it auto-calcs right the way across. So this is just a printout of what I've got on the analyzer. Okay, so this all comes at the masterclass. Now here we've got the viewing. You're looking at everything and the 15-minute rule. This is what you're used to doing. You're used to standing in an empty property with the agent chatting one of you up and the other watching the chat up, or maybe he's the agent and you guys are discussing it with each other. Don't know. Anyway, but the reality of the auction is this, and this is me. My elbows are out. They're generally painted red as well because I elbow my way in. I want to be in and out of that property, having looked at everything in it before this guy's even got through the front door, because I don't want to be pushing my way through this lot in a little 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom terraced house. It's elbow time, and if you don't use your elbows, well, you'll never find out why they're useful to have. Okay, so you elbow it and you make sure this is where you're standing when you go out to do the viewing, having parked up and everything else. Hence I say, use a car. We use an executive coach on the viewing days. It arrives outside the property, we disembark, the executive coach goes off and does whatever it wants to do for 15 minutes, comes back and picks us up. I haven't got to worry about parking or anything else at all. And even if we're 2 of us, we're doing a busy viewing day, we still have a driver. We haven't got to worry about sat nav or anything else, because you've only got 15 minutes, and if you're late, it's game over. If you're late, the door is shut, and this is what you're facing. This is what you're facing. So unless you get there 20 minutes early before the viewing time, you will not park. You won't park up. It's all solid. Okay. All these properties, very quickly, are unmodernized and all have guides of sub 100. This is the type of thing you're looking at. This is one which was fantastic. Building plot there. This is going to be, I can't remember what the numbers now on these properties were, but and don't be scared by boarded up properties. These invariably are boarded up for security reasons, and not because it's a bad neighborhood necessarily, just pure security. Unfortunately, anything and everything is open to vandals today. So we stopped and looked at housing at an estate. We went into it because it was all boarded. A lot of houses were boarded. And we asked one of the neighbours, or I always get out to talk to the neighbours. We asked one of the neighbours what was going on here, why all the boarding, and she said every single time a tenant left, even for 24 hours, the housing association came in and boarded the house against vandals automatically. And she, they're coming in 24 hours later, it's still boarded for the 24 hours. Okay. Un-Modernised at auctions in 2016. Here's a property. I'm going to rush through these because I'm conscious of time, and we're now passing the hour point. But buy costs flip up 20k, buy fix at 81k, 85% mortgage 81k. This is no money left in. It's sold for 58,000. Here's another no money left in property. Here is one at 5k left in, sold it for 33. But look at the cash on cash return, 92%. This is the amount of rent as a percentage of what you get out of it. And here's a property that didn't sell. The last bid was 70k. It's available for 74,000. And this is a desperate seller now. He's lumped 9,000 of costs into the legal pack. So if you buy it for 74, you're going to have to pay him another 9,000 for it. We worked out there's a profit of 50. We want a profit of 15,000 off it. So the total buy cost is 98, and the best comp we could come up with is 105. And that's being optimistic. So 105 take off 98 is total buy cost. We've got a fix-up budget of 7k. Never ever going to work, even though we've got a building plot here potentially. Never going to work. So very quickly, then we're going to look at real lots. Essential information group. If you're interested, and you need to be, if you're going to get involved in auctions, free 4 weeks full access. Normally they do 3 days, I think, 3 or 4 days full access. But David Sanderman, who's the MD, will give all you guys 4 weeks full access. If you come on the masterclass, by the way, you're also made members of Essential for research purposes. Research do a one-to-one how to use tutorial on the website, and that is very useful. Shows you where the information is that you want. And all you're going to do is simply email your name and mobile to dh16@EI Group tonight. So please take that down. I'm just going to take literally a 2-minute comfort break. Take the detail down, and if you're interested in Essential, give them a call. Okay, just a second.
Hi, it's Jane. I don't know if you can hear me. Does anybody have any comments at this stage? Laura, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Yep.
Hi. Any comments?
No, it's very interesting information.
Good.
Just absorbing it, really. No, it's very interesting.
Good. Well, there's an awful lot to learn, isn't there?
It certainly is, yeah.
Have you bought before?
Yes, I have.
You have, okay. But at auction or not? Or
Post-auction. Post-auction.
Oh, right.
Okay, I'm back with you.
Well done.
Okay, right. To continue, we're running a masterclass on the 30th of January, 27th February. Full details are on buyingauctionproperty.com, and we're doing a special rate, tonight's special rate, of $12.95. There's 5 places left. The reason is that we're going to be filming or doing more promotional work on the masterclass, and so there's going to be one of the students who said he'll come along and film it. You don't have to be involved in the filming at all, but anyway, we want to get it started and get a decent video. Now, what I'm going to show you now, I'll come back to that. What I'm going to show you now is we're going to get into the shortlist. Show you hot lots. I'm conscious of time, and it is Sunday. What I'm quite happy to do, we'll have a brief look at this, and then we'll come back to this Monday, Tuesday. Right. Let me take this across. Now, here is a hot lot. I think this is hot lot. Yes. Excuse me laughing. Here we have being sold out of Nottingham by Graham Penny, a property in Commercial Street, residential property in Commercial Street, Port Talbot, with a guide price of £8,000, and it's being offered on the 2nd of February this year. This is live. We're now, by the way, online on the EIG site, and I found this afternoon. So look to go for more information. It's obviously not going to sell for £8,000. Let's be under no idea of that. But what is it going to sell for? Now, first thing about hot lots is that if it's of interest to you, you need to be thinking about doing a pre-auction offer. So you go in, you put down, you make an offer and see if they'll accept it or not. Get it off the market quickly. So let's take this a stage further and open up the site. Here we are. So this is, you're welcome to take this down, by the way. This is where it is, and the auctioneers are Graham Penny. They're part of the SDL group in Nottingham. So this is being sold in Nottingham by the vendor. It's almost certainly a repossession. They tell us that. He's not telling us at the moment, but it should come up here, in fact. But it's unmodernized. Look, I've got the unmodernized. Now, the thing with EIG is you can't cut and paste anything out of it, because David's had people cut and paste his detail and sell it to other people. Anyway, it ticks the unmodernized box. All right. So this is, I say, we're now inside EIG site. What can we find out about this before we dive into Rightmove or Zoopla? Well, first of all, what you don't find out is things like sort of crime rates and stuff like that. This is a trade site. Auctions are like they trade, whereas estate agents are retail. So we're looking at the catalogue entry, freehold. You can see what you can see. Obviously, the first thing to be impressed with, or to tell you, is that the street is down here somewhere, and you're climbing quite a flight of stairs to get up here, because they obviously can't take a picture of it. This is way above you. Now that would be severely limiting your customer. You know, can you imagine anybody elderly? I mean, there's a handrail here, but the elderly would need to be pretty fit, and likewise, mum and kids. I mean, typically, I don't know where it is, whether it is in the area of benefit tenants, but benefit tenants invariably have children. So what do? Can you get shopping, pram, 1, 2, 3 kids, dog, all the way up these steps, all together? I wouldn't think it's safe. So which do you leave at the bottom whilst you get the others up? You know, it's that thing, how you cross a river. You know, you take the dog up first, or do you take the kids up first? Whatever you leave at the bottom can run off or be kidnapped. So it's got limited lettability to it. So something else to consider, but it's there at £8,000. Now, you've got the street history. Now, I have no control over this at all. And if anybody's got any ideas of a better way of doing this, please let me know. Now, I didn't want to look at that what's the name anyway? Similar properties, legal. The legal pack comes through here, by the way. It isn't available yet, or is it available? Oh, it is. Here are all the legal documents. The one that is really interesting is the EPC, which is here, which tells us the condition of the property. And I think it's fairly low. Now, I mentioned A, B, C, D, E, and numbers. Yeah, here we are. It's a D, 63. It could go to a B at 82. You'll never make 82. That involves electronic stuff like sun panels and so forth. But you could certainly get up to a C. I'm surprised it's as high as it is. More often, I'm enjoying buying stinky stuff with F's and G's. I'm surprised how high it is. But it also tells you what needs to be done and rough idea of costs, indicative cost. And this is local costs. So it's an indication of the cost of doing it. But obviously, you seldom have to only do that. I mean, if you insulated the floor, the probability is that I don't know what the floor is, but if you put concrete down, you can do a lot more. Then you get this detail here as well. Okay, so this is where the legal pack is here. The auction contract has got the special conditions inside it. I've already had a look at that. I think there's £1,000 in it from memory that you're going to have to pay if you are buying it. And you need to take all these costs into account. I'm going to pull this down very quickly because it's all standard stuff towards the end where the special cons are. Went too far. Here are the special cons. In here you find out things like probate and so forth. Yeah, I've missed it. Have I missed it? 10% of the price. Leasehold full guarantee. Oh, here we are. Extra special condition. None, cross that. If the buyer is to reimburse the seller on completion £1,000 for the cost of the sale, including searches. So that is mandatory. That is, you're going to have to do that. Now this could be £5,000 for whatever. So you're starting off with essentially a 10,000 guy. Well, not 10,000, but you're starting off with 8,000. The 8,000 shouldn't be more than 10% off the reserve. So you could put the reserve at 9 grand, put a 1,000 off here, and if you can afford 10 grand, you're in the room. You know, you can start bidding. So let's get out of this. And here's all the legal stuff. And the question is, do you need a solicitor to go through this? Again, cost £100, £150 a pop, but they will reimburse you what you don't buy. So if you're going to have if you're going to look at 5 of them, you only get reimbursed on 1. If you put if you put 5 properties to the solicitors, £750 worth of legal costs, £150 a pop. You buy 1, you only get £150 back. You're not going to get all £750 back, which is another problem. Okay. Do I get out of there? Yes, I do. and out of there. So we're back. Now I want to find another one. Portfolio. Hot Lot, Harman Healy. Now, this is Harman Healy on a map, and I don't know where you guys are, but these are what I regard as hot lots coming through the Harman Healy auction, Jan 17. So it's no, is it Jan 17? No, it's Jan 17's past. Hang on a second, let's open one of these up. Let's open up Wales. 30th of January. 30th, this search was done on the 17th of January. So 30th of January, you've got this coming up. Now the question is, this auction is in Kensington High Street, London. So is Kensington High Street going to travel to Maesteg in the valleys of Wales to look at a little terraced house at £25,000 plus? Likewise, is Maesteg going to get themselves all the way to London, or is Maesteg going to buy the sophisticated way of shopping on the telephone? And you've got the pictures inside. Now, is this Un-Modernised? It's mortgagee. This tells you it's a repossession. So this is a repo. Not concerned about the cash, how much they're going to get for it. Now you're going to decide how much you can get away with in fix-up. Try to keep it as low as possible. So you've got nice pictures to look at, reasonably kitchen. What have you got? Bathroom, no shower. Unfortunately, it's a cream. I'd go white, but that's I'm being pedantic. Anyway, here we've got a £25,000. So all the information you need is here. So the next one to look at is that's a potential hot lot. You're going to need to do a lot more DD than what I'm showing you. But it starts to tick some boxes. Plymouth, what's happening down here? I'm looking for distance from, again, I've got a £50,000 flat in Saltash. Let's open it up. Un-Modernised, lovely. Now we are into Un-Modernised. Am I repossession? No. I'm Un-Modernised. And I've got some pictures of it. I can go on to Google, which I won't do because it takes too long to load. So 50 grand gets you, or there or thereabouts, gets you into Cornwall in a little flat. First floor flat, lovely. If this was ground floor, I'd be worried, unless there's no access around the flat. So there's a little one bedroom, two bedroom. Let's see what the catalogue says. Here we are. Oh, it is right. Repo as well. Two boxes ticked. So we're Un-Modernised and we're repossessioned. We're repoed. One bedroom, first floor flat. Views over the River Tamar. Some redecoration. Good lease. Less than 60 years is unmortgageable, but we've got 99 years from 83. That's okay. EPC rating is low, so we need to fix up the heating. it's this cladding at the front. You see, it's not solid. It's just tiled on that's where the problem lies. But fix it. Entrance hall, reception room, kitchen, bathroom. You know, it depends what you're looking for, where you are, obviously. But this is a potential hot lot being sold in London. If you go onto Google, I'm not going to do it, but Google will tell you how far, Google Maps tell you how far it is to drive from Kensington High Street to this flat, and how long it'll take you. I was looking at something earlier today, which would take 4 hours to get to it. Well, that's crazy. I'm not spending 8 hours a day driving to a property. Okay, so let's go back to the Harbour Helium map. And this is what you want to do, by the way. You know, what I'm doing now, I would be logging these into my saved searches and then go back and sit and tour around. What have we got up in here, up in Scotland? Anybody interested in going up north of Inverness? 60,000 gets you into an unmodernised vacant bungalow. Full details. Detached bungalow, inland presumably. Okay, you've got a couple of pictures. Doesn't look very inviting. Oh, got loads of pictures. Loads of pictures. What you'll, again, it's what's his name, a repo? 2 boxes are ticked. What you won't find are property dimensions. You won't find room sizes. But if you go across to Zoopla or Rightmove and it's listed there, invariably they have the room sizes on those 2 portal sites. But you don't find them inside EIG. But it's fairly easy to work out, roughly speaking, what they are. I mean, given that a door is 2'6" wide and things like that, and the kitchen cupboard is 600 mil and so forth. So let's go back, and that's on the basis you're not going to hightail it up into northern Scotland, get blown away by the North Sea gales. We're going to look at something slightly more sensible. Enlarge this map and get into the Pennines. How about that? We're going to, what I'll do, it's 8 o'clock now, I'm going to look at 2 more and then we'll call it a day today. And then if, depending on what you guys want to do, this, by the way, this is unrehearsed. This is unrehearsed. Pennines, unmodernised again. Wow, more information. You see, what I wanted to show you is how much opportunity there is out there, and this is very interesting. What we've got here is End Terrace Cottage, and they're fixing it up. Now this is the catalogue picture, okay? So the probability is the builder's gone bust, or certainly he's in trouble. So motivated seller. We're unmodernised. We are Countrywide Property Services, which is the repo people. So we're unmodernised and a repo. And we're leasehold, which means that you can't simply extend this because you want to. You've got to get the landlord's permission to do it. Another problem. Don't know what this is. The garden or something. Stables. This has got a lot of problems attached, potential problems attached to it. Just did a quick look like at this. And that being the case, the amateur is scared off. The professional is looking at this, and the professional is going to want, the trade is going to want at least a 20% profit margin. 20%. That's at least what they want. So if you can cut your profit down to 15%, then you have got more money to bid and buy. So you ought to work on a 15% profit margin when you're dealing with a trade buy. And this is a potential trade buy. And you have a good look at the legal pack, etc., etc. And you've got what it is, you've got 10 days, how long, 30th, where are we today, 22nd. You've got a week to do it. One thing about auctions, you've got to move, and move very quickly. Very quickly. It's burning the midnight oil to gather all the information that you need to be able to make a decision. You can't be rushed into making a decision, but you can't waste time if that's sort of the situation. Okay, so that's up in the Pennines, 90,000, so it just comes in under our 100K guide. And do we get one more? And then I'm calling it a day, Sunday night. Come on, come on, come on. Okay, what is this here? Just off the A1. Again, a terraced house in Darlington, 35,000, un-modernised. And is it a repo? It is. 2 more boxes ticked. Catalogue entry. Anything else that tells us quickly, but I'm not going to go into the legal pack. It's repo, it's freehold, very low EPC rating, E, right at the bottom. So a lot of work to do. It's tired. Again, the bathroom's upstairs. Now, this may have been a 3-bedroomed terraced house. They've taken the bathroom they've taken a bedroom and made a bathroom out of it, or it could have a rear extension on. Either way, you've got the bathroom upstairs, which is almost essential. I think they've got a rear extension on the back of here because you've got a reception room at the front and a kitchen diner at the back. You've got one window here, so there isn't a second window. You can't have a bedroom. A bedroom has to have a window. Bathrooms and kitchens don't. Bedrooms do have to have. There's no roof light here, so there isn't a bedroom in the roof. There's no second bedroom at the front. This is one room upstairs, one room downstairs. So it leads me to think that there is a rear extension on housing the bathroom upstairs, housing a bedroom and a bathroom. No, housing the bathroom upstairs, 2 bedrooms upstairs, for the 2 rear windows and the bathroom, and then you've got kitchen breakfast. They've extended the kitchen to the rear room. You've still got a reception room at the front, and then you've got a rear room which is extended into a kitchen called a kitchen diner. Is my thinking on it. Require refurbishment. Anyway, there we are. So that, ladies and gentlemen, brings me to the end. Going back to the commercial. The masterclass, we have the first 4. We'll go on to the website and see whether it's of interest to you. It's all laid out there with the program. I do as much online, like tonight, as I can. In fact, there are 9 2-hour onlines inside the masterclass, which are recorded. The recordings are put up onto Dropbox, and you have 24/7 access to the recordings as long as you want, basically, or as long as Dropbox is around, because you're not going to remember even half of what I tell you. Therefore, it's just, you've got to be able to go back and refresh and refresh and refresh. This evening's being recorded, and I'll be putting that up into a Dropbox for people that want to see it. So you're going to have to email us in and say, let me into your Dropbox file, please. I'll open it up to you. So there's one on the first Saturday following January 30th, which is a Monday. First Saturday we all meet in a hotel which is local to you, or local to the majority, and spend all day going through all this sort of stuff and picking. One of the main purposes of the Saturday is to choose the lots that we're going to go and view in Birmingham, and the days we view them. Well, the days are, one of the days is the following Tuesday we're viewing, and then it's the Wednesday or the Thursday. And following 2 viewing days, we then do these online webinars which are recorded, and in the online webinar you get the voiceover, the audio, which is what I'm doing now, but you also get the screens. So everything you've seen on the screen tonight comes through the audio. What you don't get is pictures of people that are part of it, okay? And then we also go to the auction, which is on the 23rd of February, 23rd, 25th, and then we wrap it up on the Monday following with another webinar where the auctioneers come to it, and David Sanderman of EIG come to, two serious players in the game to answer any questions that you've got. And as I say, you can buy, and if we identify a property, or you identify a property that you want to buy either on the Saturday or during the viewing days, then we all get behind you, and it becomes your sort of case history to look at and to work on. Okay, it is 8 o'clock or thereabouts, 8:09. I'm calling it a day. I'm calling it an end. Thank you very much for coming along. I hope you found it useful. If you have, go back onto Facebook or wherever you got information about this webinar. Say how terrible it was, or how rude I was, or whatever. Hope you haven't been offended by my 2 C's and stuff like that. And we will be running another webinar towards the end of next week, I suspect, on less on the training side, more on on hot properties. So I'm going to go and see if I can find some more hot properties and come up with them, with the auctions being 2, 3, 4 weeks ahead of time. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks, Jane, and all you guys have a great evening, or what's left of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. That was really interesting. Thank you. Very much appreciated.
You're welcome. Catherine.
Hey, yes, that was really good. Thank you. That was really useful.
How did that? It was a bit better than Sunday with all my Wednesday with all my frustrations.
Yes, the sound was a lot better this time.
I found Wednesday really, really very frustrating. Anyway, it'll be going up as a recording, so you can enjoy another hour and a half of it.
Perfect. Well, we'll look forward to the one later in the week.
Okay, great. Good night to all of you. I'm off for supper.